Welcome to Pioneers in Payments, where payments experts share their insights. Now, here's our host, Donna Blum.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Pioneers in Payments. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Sarah Grotta from Mercator Advisory Group. Welcome, Sarah.
Great to be here, Donna, and always a pleasure to speak about payments with you.
Well, I'm so glad you're here with us, and we're really looking forward to gleaning some pearls of wisdom from you today. Sarah, just to get us started, would you mind sharing a little bit about yourself, your background in the payments industry, and the work that you do there at Mercator Advisory Group?
Yeah, sure. So a little bit about my background. I've been in payments now for decades, and the kind of the way I feel about this, and likely many in the payments industry do, is you can have a job in payments and you can be in that same job, but the job changes so much just because payments itself, the industry, is always evolving. So there's something new and exciting happening all the time. While I've been in the payments industry, I've done that through a couple of different areas. First, I have been with a financial institution for many years and kind of learned payments from that perspective. And then also I've spent some time with some startups and some fintechs. So that's a fun environment as well. And then I've taken that knowledge in my current position at Mercator Advisory Group, where I'm a director of the debit and alternative payments practice. And in that role, I'm working on research around topics related to debit and other types of payments that interact with a checking account. Also do consulting and just have the opportunity to meet with a lot of different players in the payments industry.
That's great. Well, thanks again for joining us. Sarah, so we're trying to basically help payments professionals navigate this dynamic and rapidly changing payments ecosystem and environment. And so kind of wanted to just get from you some of the high level most notable trend, biggest opportunities, greatest challenge. So let's start with that first question. What would you say is the most notable trend today in the payments industry?
Well, I know that I'm not the first one to say this, but I think it's the speed of change that we're experiencing right now. If you think about it, if you think how technology has changed in the last 10 years, in the last 5 years, in the last 2 years, whether that's something like, more opportunities to utilize cloud-based technologies, the use of APIs, the new ways that blockchain is being used. It is amazing, how quickly these things have come onto the market and have made an impact. And then, that also translates into some changes that we've seen in the networks and themselves. The payment networks have been kind of stable for many, many years. And now we're seeing things like RTP and FedNow is coming up. We're seeing the use of debit push payments, and it just keeps going on and on. And when you have new technology and new networks, then you have organization building new products on top of that, and those are really interesting as well. I mean, just to take one example, let's think about buy now, pay later. We're seeing that both for consumers as well as for business. And that just kind of sprang out of nowhere, I think, relatively speaking to other payment types. So it's just really fascinating how quickly things are evolving.
I would agree. I actually rejoined the payments industry in January after being away for 8 years, and there's so much that's new. It's enough to make your head spin, really, but it certainly makes it super exciting too. So let's move on to the next question, which is about the biggest opportunity right now in the industry for organizations that process payments.
Yeah, I think, with some of the things that we've talked about, particularly some of the new technologies, that has really reduced the barrier for entry for a lot of new opportunities, new businesses offering new solutions to those who are processing payments. And so I think that's the opportunity, because we've got a lot of very interesting organizations out there with new solutions that can solve a lot of problems. And some of the ones that I like to pay attention to in particular are those that are doing some very interesting things with data. I don't think there's enough of that going on. I think there's just a tremendous amount of data now that most transactions are digitized. We've got a lot more that's available in the data that can create efficiencies and provide us with better planning and better fraud management and things like that. And so I think the opportunity is to take a look at all of the new solutions out there and how they might be able to impact your payments environment.
Great. Yes. And so that's the opportunity. Let's look at the flip side. What would you say is the greatest challenge that these organizations are facing today?
Yeah. So with all of these new entrants into the marketplace, there's going to be a lot of noise. Some of these new players and some of these new opportunities aren't necessarily going to stand the test of time. And then also just the mere volume of these new solutions in the marketplace are going to take time, to really sift through and to understand, which ones are the right ones for my operating environment. And so I think the real challenge for a lot of organizations that are processing payments is to maintain a level of focus. Right, to understand these are really the areas where I want to focus. I'm going to stay focused. I'm going to stay, laser focused on really what's important to my organization, and try not to get too scattered by some of those bright, shiny objects on the horizon.
Right. Kind of reminds me of a Disney movie where there's a dog and a squirrel,
Yes, exactly.
So exactly. There's a lot of things, new things that are shiny and exciting, and it would be easy to become distracted by those things. But I love what you're saying here about focus. So now we're shifting to the last question, which is really, if you had to leave our audience, the payments professionals that are watching this podcast, if you had to leave them with one silver bullet piece of advice, what would that be?
I'm going to repeat myself here just a little bit, because it has to do with, that word focus again. But, I would want to take a look at my business, make sure I know where it is that I am doing my best work, where it is I want to go next, and make sure that I'm availing myself of all of the new capabilities in the marketplace that are going to help me to achieve that. And again, not get too far afield, if you will, with some of those items that may not really be central to my key goals. There's a lot of that fear of missing out that goes on both with consumers as well as businesses, and so we need to watch for that.
That makes sense. Well, Sarah, before I let you go, I wanted to make sure that our audience knows how to learn more about the Mercator Advisory Group. How can they best learn about the services that you provide?
Yeah, absolutely. So you'll see a lot of our research work on mercatoradvisorygroup.com. You'll see my practice as well as that of my colleagues that covers a whole variety of payments throughout the industry. And then we also have our marketing arm, which is paymentsjournal.com. And there you can pick up on some news items as well as some content from some of our partners. So I would suggest both those websites.
Wonderful. And I'm glad you mentioned Payments Journal. Actually, we just participated in a Payments Journal podcast with you and Cheryl Gers from the Clearinghouse. And I don't know, do you want to put in a little plug for that here?
Oh, absolutely. Look for that. I think it's been a featured article. It should be easy to seek out in on the site itself. That was just a fun conversation to have, and I think viewers will get some interesting feedback, not necessarily from me, but from some of the others on the webinar. It was a lot of fun.
And the main topic is really kind of centered on operational readiness, right?
Yes,
like how to be
absolutely.
operationally ready for real-time payments. So
Yes.
in fact, what I'll do is I'll make sure that I include a link to maybe view that as well when I post this to YouTube. So anyways, if you want to check that out, look in the description of this video for a link to that podcast. Sarah, I just want to thank you so much for your participation in this the video podcast today. We've had a couple of technical challenges previously, and you have just been a trooper. So I so appreciate you. And I also want to thank everybody for watching. Have a great day.